2 years ago, I saved my husband but ended up disabled. His family and friends mocked me cruelly. In my despair, I cut off his legs, hoping to escape the scumbag, only to find myself back before the accident ever happened. I lost my legs by saving Frederick Walden. For 3 years of marriage, he indulged his friends and family insult me. I confronted him, but he impatiently pressed his temples. They're just stating the truth. I didn't beg you to save me back then. No one asked if I wanted it or not. All the affection from my youth turned to ashes in that moment. That night, I spiked his milk with sleeping pills and, while he slept, without hesitation, cut off his legs. I slept holding him as he screamed in pain. When I opened my eyes again, I was back 3 years ago, before I lose my legs. Frederick is really something endurable, marrying with a cripple for 3 years. You don't understand, bro. Maybe Frederick has some peculiar tastes. A cripple in bed, huh? In my opinion, Ivy Walden is cunning, using a leg to tie Frederick down for life. Laughter echoed from the private room in the hotel as I stood outside, clenching my fists. The laughter stopped, and Frederick's deep voice came, "Enough." Someone feigned surprise. "Are you serious? You're not really in love with that cripple, are you?" After a long silence, I heard the words, "How could that be?" My point is that I don't have any peculiar tastes. Facing a cripple every day is annoying, if not for what happened 3 years ago. "Mrs. Walden, why are you here?" The door to the private room opened, and everyone looked at me, mocking, pitying, but not surprised. Frederick had a moment of panic and guilt. He strode over to me, his tone full of blame. "Don't you know your own condition? What are you doing here?" I sat in my wheelchair, looking at him, and silently raised my phone. "You asked me to come." An hour ago, Frederick sent me a text message saying he had drunk too much and wanted me to pick him up. Pushed into the private room by Frederick, he closed his eyes and sighed. "Are you happy now?" The man who had just mocked me raised his hand with a smile. "Sorry, Mrs. Walden. We were just joking, wanting to see how much you care about Frederick." He said the text message was sent from Frederick's phone by them, just to prove how much I love him. These people didn't hide their contempt in their tone. I looked at Frederick blankly. He seemed to have known all along. "I didn't know you'd actually come." He saw what I was thinking, and helplessly pressed his temples. "And you think about it. Even if I drank too much, couldn't a taxi driver or a friend take me home? What could you do coming here?" I followed his gaze to my legs. What could I do? Probably rush out in my wheelchair after receiving the text, having to ask the taxi driver to carry me into the car. Thinking about it now, I was really foolish, rushing to be the butt of their jokes. Since there's nothing, I'm going back. I lowered my head and wheeled away, but someone stuck out their foot to block my path. "Mrs. Walden, don't hurry off. You can't leave without having a drink, can you?" Someone handed me a drink, but I'm allergic to alcohol. I looked at Frederick again, and he remained silent. Facing the room full of eyes watching, I silently took the drink. He let out a cry as I splashed the drink in his face. "What the hell, crippled bitch?" I activated the electric mode on my wheelchair and mercilessly rolled over the foot, blocking my way. Behind me were curses, which I ignored, closing the door to the private room for them. Frederick chased after me and started berating me. "Ivy, don't go too far. They're all my friends." He reached out to pull me, but I blocked him. "They're your friends, but I'm your wife. You know how to protect your friends, but you turn a blind eye when your wife is being insulted?" Frederick pursed his lips, a subconscious sign that he knew he was in the wrong but didn't want to admit it. Suddenly, I felt it was pointless and wheeled toward the main entrance. By the time I reached the main entrance, he caught up with me again. They might be a bit loose-lipped, but it's still facts. I didn't particularly like Frederick's excuses. Rubbing my wet eyes, I tried to keep my voice calm. "Let's get a divorce.